I both enjoyed this comic book, but there are some things that really did irk my Gurk. This is the Savage Sword of Conan, issue 180. And I've shared this story on every Conan comic that I've gone over. But after the big move that I talked about a while back, when we first got here, there was this huge, like, community garage sale. And I just happened to see a bunch, like, about that thick of comics. I didn't know what they were, but I'm like, you know what? For I think it was like $5. I was like, I'll take it. And it was a majority Conan comics. I'd never owned a Conan comic in my life other than Savage Avengers. And I'll be honest, I was a little reluctant to get into these, but man, oh man. Once we've started diving through these together, I'm falling more and more in love with this. And I wish that Marvel would kind of go back to these old school styles. Now, this is newer than the Conans that we went over, which were the reprints of the old Roy Thomas comics. I believe the print date on this was, let's see, hold on, December 1990. And in this is called The Tomb. Well, there's 3 chapters. It's one story. But the first part here is The Tomb of Lost Visions. And let me see if I can find the artists. Doesn't say other than Ovi doing the cover art. So if we find a way, here it is. Just give me a minute and I always find it. Doug Moench doing the writing. Mike McDoughtry doing the pencils. Alika and company doing the inks. And Dana Albers letters. And you know what? The black and white format, I'm okay with that. This looks absolutely beautiful. Do I like color? Sure. I mean, that's nice and vibrant. It really gives you the vibe of what's going on. But still, it just gives that old school Conan vibe. And now we're thinking that Conan's going to be diving into some like battles here. You know, you see him perched in the tree, beautifully rendered, looking down on someone. It's been said that youth has no time for patience. A truth proven this night in the sculptured garden of Antigones, perfect, of the Zamoran city of Ramaja. If I pronounce these wrong, feel free to make fun of me down in the comments. Indeed, to the young Northlands barbarian recently arrived in Zamora, it seems as if half the night has been spent in waiting. But finally, cloaked in stealth and silvered by moonlight, his quarry emerges from the palace and glides straight towards his trap. We're thinking, oh boy, we're going to get some like sword or sorcery swordplay going on right now. And he stalks, making less sound than a dying breeze. The figure enters the maze of hedges, halts before a guardsman's lance propped against a tree, and melts into the rough embrace of impatient youth. Here you are, Conan. But there are better ways to quicken my heart, you know. All the waiting's made me overeager, Syreena. You had trouble sneaking out? No. That he's engaged in his important meeting. So, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, we're thinking, okay, Conan snuck into this garden or what have you to have relations, which is a good cutaway to what the whole plot of this story is about. And if we are but strangers to you, Antigones of Yara, you've no doubt heard, since he is Zamorian like yourself. I have heard of Yara, the high priest who dwells in the strange tower of Arjuan. It said he wants to use a jewel to turn a prince into a black spider, which he then crushed underfoot. So it is indeed said. So this is a cult that is making a deal. I believe this guy's name is Antigones. For if such a fate could befall a prince, think what may happen to a mere prefect. All right, get on with it, Shashbek. And damn your dark threats. What is your point? The point, Antigones, is that you lust to rise up against your own King Tridents and usurp the crown of Zamora. But your army is a mere prefect's garrison and far too small. So he has lust for power and makes a literal deal with the devil. However, I and my 2 fellow priests, Jahia and Ragaths, can provide you the means to succeed in the conquest. In return for what? Once you sit the throne, you will afford my cult and full and free access to the vaults of Shalakan, in the capital of Shazdar the Wicked. Why? It is said that the bones of the god we worship who once walked this land and was slain lie in those vaults. Is it true? Truth does not matter. All that matters is belief and faith. And so this is where everything kind of starts to come together. So we kind of get what's going on behind the castle walls. 3 strangers from Khauran, she said. And if the youth knows no patience, it is more than familiar with curiosity. And again, let's go back to what we've talked about here in these past reviews. The third person narration. What we're getting here is not Conan's thoughts. Again, our community member Sam Gerthy put it best, saying it gets tiresome when our main characters, Spider-Man, Batman, etc., so forth, becomes the third person narrator on top of carrying the dialogue. So it's just like you're trying to keep up with what he's thinking in his mind, what's going on here. But instead, the old traditional way of comic book telling, these little quips lead us along. Offer this cask, Antigones, as proof of my serious intentions, as well as the intentions of my cult, and yea, even my dear God, my dead God. What cask? Some sleight of hand, producing a cask from thin air? What kind of proof is that? Now keep these in mind. Gems. Superb gems. They are but still nothing more than that. Are you trying to buy my role in this proposed scheme? Our God buys nothing, O Prefect. Antigones. Least of all a small promise you cannot keep by your own admission without the means to usurp credits. Then, in the contents of this cask are gems only to ordinary sight, only to eyes blinded by this world. And so we come to find out that there's more than meets the eye. And Conan climbs. And I just love how it, this would be almost near impossible. But even though Conan is mortal, I love they show him that he is more, like He-Man, for example. And he notices, what a fool this prefect is. Why care about some damn key? Simply dash the cask against the nearest rock. And so he comes to find out that he wants this cask. He wants the gems, but he doesn't know what he is getting himself into. And then here, Syreena. More? If your prefect's meeting was a short one, there may be less time than you thought. But you, on the other hand, why not more? Because elsewhere in the garden, a large man sniffs the air in suspicion and detects the odor of something other than night-blooming jasmine, although just as sweet. Shh. And as the scent grows more pungent, trouble, Sergeant Rothma? You. Why aren't you in the barracks, Cimmerian dog, instead of sulking about here? Well, since I couldn't sleep, I thought I may as well put my lance to good use. I love the double entendre, because we know the audience knows what's going on. So just a little bit of a ha-ha without being meta, like, oh, I just liked, I swiped my girl on Tinder. Patrolling the palace grounds in my free time. You are no longer a freelance barbarian. You are now a soldier in the prefect's guard. I am the sergeant of that guard, and I issue no others to patrol these or any other grounds. And so he finds out what happened. And we can find out that Rothma here does not like Conan. Still, I suppose no real infraction has been... your belt. I thought as much. If you want to remain in my garrison long enough to see your first pay, get back to the barracks now. I'll announce your discipline after long and hard thought tomorrow. Conan's blood rushes like fire, and his every instinct urges him to snatch the sergeant's sword and make him eat. And so from this point on, we start to see a cauldron begin to burn and boil inside. Morning, and Rothma leads his guards back from the barracks. Keep your eyes forward, all of you, straight to the forge of the city's ironsmith. 6 men will stand watch right here while the rest of you go off to your normal rounds. But not you, Cimmerian, for after thinking long and hard, I've decided on your discipline. You see, our blades have been too dull of late, and I suspect the forge needs to be hotter. And mayhap the heat of the sun will help. Kicks over the tent that they put over the forge. As will the great brawn of a barbarian on the bellows. You, apprentice, take the day off. Conan takes the bellows. In the blue fire, he sees aquamarine. In the red coals, the glow of sapphire rubies, opals, and yellow. And if he pumps hard enough, forcing white heat, he will even glimpse pure diamonds. Hours pass. Slow down, boy, you'll kill yourself. Keep working, Smith. A time will come, not long from now, when the garrison of the city will need the sharpest blades it can get. But think of me, at least. You're making me look like a slacker. I said keep working. Midday with the sun at the zenith. You can't keep it up much longer. Not at that pace. The gems in Rothma's blood. So here we're thinking what's pushing him, what's agging him on. Night and time has lost all meaning and effect. His muscles beyond pain, exertion. Nothing now but the sound and rhythm of the downward thrusting, regular, unceasing, the flaring response of heat, and the burning lure of wealth and vengeance. How can he keep it up? He's not human. Halfway through the night comes an abrupt change. What's that clangor? The bellows weren't enough for him. Now he's at the anvil doing the smith's work at will. But if the sound now seems louder, they remain just as regular. Myrta's blood, and still unceasing. And while you're reading that, in the exquisite artwork, you just feel Conan's resolve to just basically show up Rothma. By morning, he is back at the bellows. On your feet, here's Romoth. He won't believe it. All right, dog, that's enough. And just in time, Rothma, or Romoth. Couldn't last much longer, eh? I could, but the forge is almost done. By midnight, I could see I had run out of coals. So I made sure not all of them were wasted. A gift for you, Sergeant. A souvenir of cunningly thought discipline. And though Conan tosses it with one hand, the mammoth blade nearly taxes Romoth to the ground. As my first try at sharpening iron, and in the dark, at that I'll admit it's crude. But it does have a nice heft. So of course he takes it out on his dogs or his guards or whatever, because he's just been shown up. And nonetheless, he sits there and thinks of the wealth, wants to break into this secret vault that Anagonius has put the cask within. But of course, just like every greedy man, he begins to pry his eyes on them. Our host could not stay away from the cask. But will he betray us? I think not, brother. Perhaps I should keep my bargain with the Koreans and keep our mountain rendezvous. But if he does betray us, at least we shall see our way clear to revenge, rather than simply keeping the cursed gems. So Conan tries to go and get a drink. Again, Rothma. I'm going to say Rothma because it's easier to pronounce. But basically, docks his pay. And so he waits. Where does it say? With overlarge arms or not? Wait, where is it? Hold on, it's funny. Hold on. Here we go. So he can't buy a drink. And he tries to say, I'll arm wrestle someone for a drink. And they're basically saying, not to mention a torn arm, take your fool's bet elsewhere. But by midnight, there are few in the tavern with wits enough to hold their own against a sober man. And we see a sword come into frame so he can have a drink. Less than half full, more than half empty, better than nothing. What's this? And so he sees this little man coming. Ale wench. And when the girl turns away. So he's basically a purse cutter. Thief, essentially. He goes, ugh, the sudden pain would seem genuine, were it not for the cut and caught purse. Calypsis, are you? Just the damn pain again. And when it hits like this, Myrta knows the best course is straight to bed. A good trick, and to hell with honest pay. To hell with the ambush, too, when there are easier ways to get rich in this place called civilization. And so he follows Calypsis out. 1, 2. You took it from a friend of yours, did I? Friend? Hell no, old man. I hate those cowardly dogs. Then what do you want? Half. I see. A young whelp after my own heart. A full half. By Bel, God of all thieves, you're not as dumb as you look. And you're no doubt more shifty by half. Which suits my purposes well. Here, what's this? Payment for your services. To steal something? To teach. Ah, you wish to apprentice as a master thief, do you? First lesson, never surrender coin in hand for anything less than women or wine. I'm vesting in the future. Oh, meh. Conan reels, hunger and abuse finally taking their toll. And so Calypsis actually takes him in, which is interesting because it kind of plays on that honor amongst thieves. Now, before your rude collapse, you'd ask me to have you make you as a future thief. The answer is you're too big to steal. Aye, but it's not me we're going to steal, since I have something smaller and more precious in mind. Barbarian humor, no less. But I assure you, this is serious business. Thieving puts men in many tight places, and you're too big to fit. And so they go through many different things that Conan's supposed to be learning. And we come to find out that this guy is getting too old, saying Conan is too big. But each one, they screw up. They get a decoy of rocks. He futzes trying to break into lockpicking. Conan kicks the door down to an empty house. They end up getting chased. And how cunning of you, Calypsis. Let me out! A great teacher indeed, showing how to acquire hoards of nothing but trouble anyway. Mayhap my days as a master thief have long passed. Nothing but a cut purse now, and soon I'll not even be fit for a meager pickings such as that. If you are in truth too old to do it, you can still teach me how, and I have enough youth for both of us. Thank you, whelp. In truth, and though a long life, every barbarian I've known to a man has proven more civilized than any cur of this city. And so Conan basically quits the guards, and he finds out what these Corythians, or whatever they're pronounced, it says here, he pretends to give them his horses. He pretends to be a stable boy. He goes, then why not simply go with the prefect's party? Fool, because their way is blind and too slow. Off my cloak, man. What? Crumbs, blood. So he actually sees what these hooded figures look like. So he realizes that there's more to this cult. Not men, but some kind of demons. And the deadline has just grown shorter. Changing plans. What plans? We combine my original goal with your arts of thievery, Calypsis, and make our move before the full moon rather than after. Bells, hell, what the devil are you talking about? A golden cask of gems, which I'd rather steal from Anagones and his entire garrison here in the city, than try to take from 3 cat-eyed demon priests in the mountain ambush. Fewer cuts, just the 2 of us anyway. You're an infuriating pup, I'll give you that. But far too dull to learn everything necessary before the moon waxes full. Whatever I lack in skulking, I'll make up in brawn. And at this point, it comes to stealing the treasure. And Conan basically just full on takes on the garrison, wiping them out one by one. But of course, Ramath catches him. And it says, Conan awakes with far more than a throbbing head. Awareness is pain racking every fiber of his body, and the sudden realization that Calypso's plan didn't take this into account. The sword, as you once pointed out, has a nice heft. And should it slip off your neck, it will make a very large splash. I wonder how long even you can hold your head up, Cimmerian. The beauty of the torture, of course, is that you know it can't be forever. So how long, dog? How long? Long enough. And of course, Conan finds a way out of it. Gets the cask from the hidden vault, for lack of a better term. But he comes to find out that the drain has a pipe. Told you thieves get into tight spots. Too tight for an oaf like you. That cask, however, just might squeeze through. Go to hell, old man, and get out of my way. Clink. By bell, mayhaps brawn does come in handy at times, even for a thief. Now, so far, we feel this tension going up with Anagones going to meet up with this cult. Conan, learning to be a thief, wanting to get this cask. The artwork at this point, how beautiful and rich and in-depth and semi-realistic, right? We get halfway through the book, and this is where I was talking about where it irks my Gurk. Watch this. Beautiful, beautiful. And then it changes. Now, if anybody knows, let me know the history on this, but the only thing that I can think of, because it says that, we got the credits of the artists at the beginning of the book. So I wonder if they ran out of time, like they were rushed, or they were busy. Because at this part, they finally get the cask. Later, we did it, Calypsis. By Crom, your scream actually worked. So it did. You see, the thieves' brothers. Now find them at once, brother. Night. You see some hands grab the cask. And then just this whole tonal shift. And the rest of the book is just, I feel like they phoned in the latter half of this book. The story is still awesome. Don't get me wrong. But I had to stop and flip back through, and I was like, what the hell? Because I was so, in my initial read of this, I was so engrossed in it that it was so damn abrupt. So with that said, Calypsis takes off with the cask. No! The cask, Conan. He slipped in and stole it. I gave pursuit, but I couldn't stop him on that white steed from hell. All our hard work. Aye, now we'll have to face those 3 demons in the mountains as well as Ramatha and his men. But we'll still do it alone, Calypsis, you and me, and we'll leave them all behind. And so at this point, the trek into the mountains begins. They end up in this kind of like a Stonehenge type thing called the Gateway. Within these stones, Anagones, one of the eyes of the moon has risen. You shall gaze upon a sight unseen for centuries. I see. No, but you will. While we wait for darkfall, I have a confession. I lied. I was making off with the cask myself when I was set upon by that rider from Helen. I know. You knew, but you've given no indication. Words, a wisdom old man. I never trust a thief, nor should you. Then why have you let me stay with you? Good thief never shows his true hand and never casts off a proven tool. You're calling me a tool? And I just love that dry humor. You see the smile on Conan's face. You might come in handy. Besides, a thief who dares steal from me is a thief worth learning from. And so, Anagones finally sees what they were talking about, this thing that's not been seen for centuries. In your remembered sight is held the power of visions long lost. Mitra, gaze upon us and see the way open that we may enter. And while Anagones does this, Romath goes to have his way with Syreena. Gaze down, mute witness of eternity, that we may descend. The ground with the light, it's sinking. And now even you, Anagones, can see the purpose of the ropes. To get out, yes, but first into the tunnels. Our roles, Romatha, are reversed, but the girl likes it not. And you are finally alone, thank Khauran, with no place to run. You. And so, of course, revenge is enacted. Him and Syreena are finally back together. And they all have to go into the pit after the cask. And within here, unknown nightmares begin. And this is why I'm so frustrated that all this beautiful ink work, penciling, we finally get to the fight of these monsters, and it just is half done. I feel like if they would have just stuck their nose to the grindstone and completed this the way that it looked at the beginning, these scenes of him fighting this snake and forcing it to basically eat itself from the inside out would have been a lot more engaging, I guess, for a lack of a better word, for eye candy, especially when this monster is revealed. Now, as we come to the end, of course, we think everyone's going to get away. Of course, there is betrayal. And when Conan finally thinks that he gets to go away with the woman that he actually cares about, tragedy strikes. He goes, sorcery. It cares not who is innocent and who evil, instead touching and destroying whomever it can. And so he rides off alone and penniless, having heard of another city to the south, Arjuan, the city of thieves. He wonders if Calypsis was right, if he is not cut out to be a thief. And as he listens to the distant wolves howl, hearing in their ululation echoes of an old man's laughter and a young girl's scream, he wonders too. If Conan has learned anything from all this, it is simply that sorcery is foul and always to be feared. The cask could have been opened and quickly shut before emitting its hellish light. So, did Calypsis at some point glimpse the eye? Now, I wanted to keep this relatively vague, guys, because this was a freaking good read. And what drives me nuts is I looked all over online and I cannot find anyone really reviewing this book. And this is something that is just freaking amazing. Like, if you love sword and sorcery, He-Man, Conan the Barbarian, Beastmaster for that, this is definitely up your alley. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen, please first and foremost support your local comic shop or wherever they can get your action figures and comics and grab this issue. And if you've enjoyed this review, really would appreciate taking a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel more than you could possibly know. And if you don't mind hitting that fancy little blade bell next to subscribe, that way as I continue to upload content, you guys get notified. Come to the channel, and I love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments or the socials, which I'll make sure that the links down in the description. And if you enjoy what I do and you'd like to support the channel, I've left a PayPal link in the description. And if not, I still appreciate you watching this video. Either way, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, everyone.